Excuse me, welcome everyone. How's everybody this morning? Everybody doing okay? We are going to kick off here in just a couple minutes. If we can have a seat, we will get this ceremony started. Thank you so much for coming. All right, we've got a 1-minute call before we start. 1 minute till we start.
And this is her daughter. No, I don't know.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Mary Hensley, Chancellor of the Blinn College District. Thank you for joining us today as we open the Walter C. Schwartz building at the RELLIS campus. And we are now celebrating the beginning of a new era in Blinn College's 135th year history. As we begin today, I would like to note the obvious. It is hot out here. And so let's take about 30 minutes. And gentlemen, please feel free to take off your jackets now, loosen those ties. Ladies, do the same. On your mark, get set, remove them. And also I would like for you to note that we have water stands positioned all around the tent. And if any time during today's ceremony you would like some water, if you will just simply raise your hand, we have spotters around the tent and they will bring you ice cold water at any time. Additionally, we have golf carts available if anyone feels the need to leave. And hopefully we won't need this, but we do have an ambulance very close on site if that need should arise as well. Well, as I begin today, I am so honored to introduce the Blinn Board of Trustees, and as I call their name, I would like for them to stand and face the audience. First of all, our wonderful board chair, Charles Mosier, who will bring greetings in a moment, and also his wife, Peggy. Would you please stand? And also, joining them, our board vice chair, Richard Powell, and his wife, Barbara. Board secretary, David Summer, and his wife, Beth. Stacy Oschenbeck, Teddy Bain, Douglas Bohart and his wife Sandra, Atwood Conjura, and Cole Murphy. Thank you all for being here until I call all of their names. And would you please rise as I call your name? Texas A&M University System Chancellor, the wonderful John Sharp. Ruth Hughes, Texas Workforce Commission Chair and Commissioner representing employers. Senator Lois W. Colkhorst. Representative John Rainey. Representative Kyle Cassell. Representative Ben Lamont. Representative Dan Flynn. Jacob Freire, President and CEO of the Texas Association of Community Colleges. And Chris Mars, Blinn College Executive Dean, RELLIS Campus. Thank you all for being here today. And at this time, I would like to introduce Representative Flynn and ask him to step forward with a special presentation.
Thank you, and thank you for everybody else. Why are you here? You're from East Texas. I said, well, A&M Commerce is in my district. And so community colleges and the university system is always a big part of my life, and it's great to be here. And I was invited, so that's why I'm here, and my colleagues. But one of the things that we like to do is, because I think it's important that we remember we're all a part of the state of Texas. We do all remember that. And I think that we have a flag that was flown over the state capitol, and Chancellor Sharp didn't climb up there to fly it, but I'm sure he would have had we asked him. But I wanted to present this to Dr. Hensley. This is a flag that was flown over. Now, I have my colleagues here too. I wanted them to be sure and recognize that this is a special event for all of us all over Texas. And community colleges and the university system, a big deal. And this coming session, it's going to even be a bigger deal, I promise. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you. As I call your name, I have a few others in the audience that I would like to recognize. Would you please stand? James Edge, District Director for U.S. Representative Bill Flores, and Ariel Traub, District Director for Senator Charles Schwartner. Thank you so very much for being here today. And from the Texas A&M University System Board of Regents, I would like to introduce Regent Phil Adams. Thank you so much. Won't you please stand and let us recognize you as well. As I look around under this tent, I see so many wonderful community leaders and elected officials and dignitaries. And if you allow me a moment of personal privilege, I would like to recognize several in the audience today. Would you please stand and remain standing as I call your name? Former Blinn College District Trustee and current Brazos County Commissioner Nancy Berry. Former Blinn College District Trustee Leon Tobin. Former Blinn College President Dr. Donald Volter. The Honorable Judge Buiding, Washington County Judge. The Honorable Judge John Durenberger, Washington County Judge-elect. The Honorable Mike Sutherland, Burleson County Judge. And from the Brazos County Commissioner's Court, Commissioner Steve Aldridge. And from the Washington County Commissioner's Court, Commissioner Luther Heesky. And from the City of Bryan, Mayor Andrew Nelson and members of the City Council. And from the City of College Station, Mayor Carl Mooney and members of the City Council. And from the City of Brenham, Mayor Milton Tate Jr. and members of the City Council. Thank you all so much for being here today. Others that I would like for you to know and ask them to stand. Representatives of the Texas Workforce Commission, we appreciate your presence here today so much. President, CEO Glenn Brewer, Mike Rollins, and the Bryan College Station Chamber of Commerce. President, CEO Paige Michelle in the Washington County Chamber of Commerce. President John Snell and the Sealy Chamber of Commerce. President, CEO Matt Prohaska, my dear friend Casey Odom, who's past president, and Charles Martinez from the Brazos Valley Economic Development Corporation. Thank you for being here. Also, Executive Director Tom Wilkeson in the Brazos County Valley of Governments, and also so many of my colleagues with whom I serve on the Workforce Solutions Board. And Superintendent Clark Ely and members of the College Station ISD Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Christy Whitbeck and members of the Bryan ISD Board of Trees. And also, I have a special friend in the audience who has been like a sister to me for more than 32 years, President of McLennan Community College, President Johnette McCowan. Thank you all so much for being here today. Well, it takes wonderful leaders to create something that we honor in today's forum, and I would like to recognize the leadership from Blinn College and ask them to stand and remain standing so that we can recognize you as well. Ted Hayaski, he is our Executive Vice Chancellor and General Counsel. Leighton Schubert, Vice Chancellor for Public Affairs and Strategic Relations. Richard Cervantes, Vice Chancellor for Business and Finance and CEO. Karen Buck, Vice Chancellor for Student Services and Administration. Dr. Crystal Lee, Vice Chancellor for Instruction. Dr. John Turner, Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Services and the Brenham Campus. Dr. Jimmy Bird, Executive Dean from the Bryan Campus. Mr. Chris Mars, Executive Dean from this campus, the RELLIS campus. And Lori Clark, Special Assistant to the Board of Trustees and Chancellor. Thank you for all you've done to bring us to today. There were many people who brought their talents to the construction of this facility, and I'd like for these individuals to stand as groups as well. If you are with one of the following groups, would you please stand and be recognized? Vaughn Construction, Kirksey Architecture, Kimley Horn and Associates, DBR Incorporated, the SWA Group, and from Blinn College, Richard O'Malley, Assistant Chancellor of Facilities, Buildings, Planning, and Construction, Mark Feldke, Project Manager, Sean Welch, Director of Facilities for Brazos County Campuses, and Michael Welch, Dean of Academic Technology. The back is full with them. Thank you so much for your presence today. And Blinn has many supporters who help us on a day-to-day basis, and I'd like to acknowledge their presence. If you're here today from the Blinn College Foundation, or from the Alumni and Friends Association, or from any members of the Blinn Campus Advisory Committees, would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, in just 4 days, the Schwartz building will host its first classes, placing students on a seamless pathway to an associate's degree from Blinn. to a bachelor's degree from one of the Texas A&M system regional universities that will also be located on the RELLIS campus. And if you could look to your left, they will start at Blinn behind me, and they will walk across the street, and they will take their courses under this building that is now under construction. We are so thrilled and honored to recognize representatives from the following universities, and our students will be able to take degrees from Prairie View A&M University, Tarleton State University, Texas A&M International University, Texas A&M University, Central Texas, Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi, Texas A&M University, Kingsville, Texas A&M University, Texarkana, and West Texas A&M University. Thank you. Thank you. None of this would occur without the leadership of Chancellor John Sharp. It is through his leadership. He has set the tone for a campus that establishes a new standard for higher education collaboration and innovation. And where others saw an empty field, Chancellor Sharp saw the potential for a campus unlike any other in the nation. It's thanks to his determination and perseverance that we have transformed this space that we rest on today from an idea to an 83,000 square foot facility in less than 2 years, on time and under budget. So on behalf of the Blinn Board of Trustees and all of us at Blinn, we thank you for joining us today in this wonderful occasion. I'd like to tell you a little bit about how we got here. Some of you in this room know this story, others do not. But the concept of the RELLIS campus was first presented to me on April 16, 2016. I had a call from two very special individuals. Billy Hamilton, Executive Vice Chancellor and Chief Financial Officer for the Texas A&M System, and Dr. James Hallmark, Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. And they asked if they could come over and see me, and so we did. We met at 1:30 in the afternoon, my office here, on April the 16th, 2016. And during that conversation, Billy and James outlined a vision for the RELLIS campus and the important role that Blinn could play in that vision. Now, I have to tell you, Blinn, the Board of Trustees, we were already committed to another location. In fact, we already had bulldozers on the ground. We had already started moving dirt. We were getting ready to lay the utility lines at the time that we had this conversation. But when I talked to Billy and James, literally the hair stood up on my arms, and I said, I'm in. I also quickly said, now I can't speak for our Board of Trustees. I'll have to talk to them. And so give me a day or two to get back to you. But I could see immediately the potential, the incredible potential for this partnership with A&M and for this location here in the Brazos Valley community. So I expressed my excitement to both of them, and I told them that I would share this information with our Board of Trustees. They left and got in their car, and they said they were going to go back and brief John Sharp, and I said, oh, I'm going to go and call our board president at that time, David Summer. So they got in their car, I got in my car, and as soon as I started the engine, and I did use Bluetooth, I called David Summer, our board chair, and quickly outlined for him what had just occurred. And I told him, now, before I tell you this, I want you to pull over, because you're driving, and I don't want you to have an accident. So I did make sure that he pulled over, David, right, before I told you this news. Well, by the time I got back to Brenham, we were both in. So we notified our board immediately, and you know the rest of the story. We talked to our board. We held a couple of called meetings very quickly. We stopped construction on the other site, and we went all in. And I'd asked our board at that time, let's hold hands together and let's take a giant leap of faith together and do something extraordinary for the future or generations to come for students who go into the A&M system and to come to Blinn College. So I am not overstating matters when I tell you that we would not be here today without that first conversation with Billy Hamilton and James Hallmark. Now, James, I know, is unable to be here today, but I would like to ask my precious and dear friend, Billy Hamilton, to please stand. I don't know who loves and admires Billy more. It's either John, Sharp, or me, but we're in close contention. Billy, you are wonderful. You know how much I appreciate you. I want to say on behalf of the Board of Trustees that you came to every board meeting. You had private and public conversations. You carried the ball, and today we are about to cross the finish line. Thank you, Billy Hamilton. I appreciate you. Subsequently, I want to tell you about another person who is very special to me. I had come to Blinn in 2015. I didn't even know how to drive from Brenham to Bryan College Station without using GPS. And I came here in one of my very first events. I went to a reception. I didn't know a soul. I did not know a single person in the room. But it was a reception to honor engineering, potential engineering students. I walked in to the building at A&M, not knowing anyone, and someone recognized me and grabbed me and said, "I'd like for you to be introduced to a lady named Dr. Kathy Banks." And I went over and shook hands, and of course, you would think that that would be a 30-second conversation. Kathy, you remember this well, I know. Kathy Banks and I bonded over a gigantic relish tray of celery and carrots. We talked for more than an hour. I'm sure everyone else at that reception did not appreciate me taking Kathy's precious time because she was the main draw for that event. But I will never forget it, and I've reminded her of this consistently. Kathy Banks will forever be one of my closest friends, one of the individuals and one of the women that I most admire in my life. And after Billy and James Hallmark and I talked about the potential for RELLIS, my good friend Kathy called me and she said, "Hey Mary, can we talk?" And I guess it's just the way we are, Kathy. But we were going to have a 5-minute conversation according to our administrative assistants who set up the phone call. And an hour and a half later, we hung up. And we chatted and we talked about all the wonderful things. And we envisioned for RELLIS. And I only asked her one thing. "Kathy, if we do this, could I just ask one request? Could you think about considering expanding the number of engineering students that we can put through the pipeline?" And she said, "Yes, absolutely." And I said, "Deal." Thank you, Kathy. I want you to stand up and be recognized. Thank you, Dr. Kathy Banks. Well, in the months that followed, we began to speed up things, and I had the opportunity, and our staff did, to work with so many close leaders at the Texas A&M system. One person is very special to me. We laughed for 18 months and said we had each other on speed dial. John Barton, won't you please stand and be recognized, please? So John, stay up. John, you can nod your head affirmatively. I don't think there was more than 24 hours for about 16 months that we didn't talk to each other every single day. You were our point person. You were the man on the ground. You got the job done. You are a joy to work with. You are a gentleman. I love you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, John is no longer with the A&M system. For sadness for all of us, he left the system recently to have his wife and John move to Colorado so that they could be with their first granddaughter, Emerson. But John has flown back from Colorado today to be here with us today. I can't tell you what an honor it is to have you with us, John. Thank you for joining us today. And then the next person who was on point, Jim Nelson, probably the tallest person in their tent. Jim Nelson, Assistant Vice Chancellor and Director of Special Academic Initiatives. Well, academic and research are the very core of the RELLIS campus, Jim, and its mission. So it's important for everyone under the tent to look at you and to note that due to Dr. Nelson's leadership and tireless service, you are the heartbeat of what is happening right now. You're part of why this building is going up so rapidly. You are part of why we have these articulation agreements with the system universities. Dr. Nelson, thank you so much for all you are doing. And there are others from the system that I would like to recognize if they are present today. Vice Chancellor for Business Affairs, Philip Ray. Vice Chancellor for Marketing and Communications, Leyland Copeland. TEAC's Associate Director, Gary Serra, had planned to be here, but was unfortunately, his plans changed last night, but he sends his regards. John Otto, Assistant Vice Chancellor and Director of Local Government Relations. And Dr. F. Dominic DeVabi, President of Tarleton State University. We're also joined by representatives on behalf of Texas A&M Central Texas, President Dr. Mark A. Nigliazza, and also Kelly Templin, Director of the RELLIS campus, and Colonel James Bright, Deputy Director for the RELLIS campus, and Hunter Goodman, who is the Chairman of the RELLIS Campus External Advisory Committee. 5 months ago, Blinn celebrated its 135th birthday in March. And at that time, the board voted unanimously to name our first building on the RELLIS campus after President and Chancellor Walter C. Schwartz. He was affectionately known as Onion Schwartz, and he served in a variety of positions during his 46 years at Blinn College. He was a graduate of Blinn College. He graduated also from, I will whisper this, the University of Texas and the University of Houston. Walter Schwartz began his Blinn career as a night school teacher for returning veterans in 1948. In 1959, he was named Dean of Students, a position he held until he was appointed the college's 11th president in 1984. In 1994, Walter Schwartz was named the first chancellor in Blinn College's history. And in addition to his leadership at Blinn, Walter Schwartz served 2 terms representing Washington and Austin counties in the Texas House of Representatives. He also served as a member of the Brenham City Council, and he was a mayor of the city of Brenham from 1994 until 2003. And to reflect his leadership during the era of unparalleled academic growth, the Walter C. Schwartz Building provides a first-class, student-focused learning environment. This is an 83,000 square foot facility. It features 19 classrooms. It has 8 laboratories, and we have space for 3,000 students in this phase 1. The interactive classrooms and laboratories and STEAM study pods are located throughout the building, and they have been encouraged to have students study together in groups. Each floor contains spacious student lounges, seating, and up on the 4th floor, I hope you have a chance to go there today, we have a terrace where students can study and relax and enjoy a picturesque view of the entire RELLIS campus. The campus features 1,500 student parking spaces. This may be the coming year the only time when I might comfortably be able to say that we have enough parking spaces for all of our students. And Texas A&M Transportation Services is going to provide bus service between the Texas A&M Flagship University and RELLIS. So as you can see, Blinn and its many partners have designed the Schwartz Building with students at the forefront, and that vision, I say once again strongly, is to the leadership of Chancellor John Sharp and to the legacy of Walter C. Schwartz. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Charles Mosier, who is the President and Chair of the Blinn Board of Trustees. As editor and publisher of the Brenham Banner Press from 1970 until 2010, Chairman Mosier has been a dedicated friend to Blinn for more than 40 years. Chair Mosier was first appointed to the Board of Trustees in 2015, and he was elected board chair in May 2017. He was a recipient of the Frank Mayborn Award for Community Leadership from the Texas Daily Newspaper Association and the Lifetime Achievement in Print Journalism Award from Sam Houston State School of Mass Communication. An active community chair, Mosier was named Man of the Year by the Washington County Chamber of Commerce in 1988, and he was named Blinn College Alumni and Friends Person of the Year in 2014. Please join me in welcoming Board Chair Charles Mosier.
You know, those were wonderful remarks you made about everyone, Dr. Hensley. I got to tell you, I had a dream last night, and when Walter Schwartz came to me in that dream, and if all of you that knew Walter, no disrespect, but he would have been gone before now. Okay? And he told me, he said, keep it brief. I don't want a lot of that. And I said, well, you need to go and talk to Dr. Hensley, because I'll be brief. But and I want to tell you too, Mr. Sharp, that you and Billy, all those things that she said about you guys, the board did not vote on that. I mean, we did not. In fact, it was a 4-3 vote against doing that. But that's okay. We like you. I want to tell you that the Blinn College Board of Trustees, administration, and staff wants to welcome and acknowledge our special guest on the dais and all our many friends and supporters who join us here today. Blinn College is most pleased to have the privilege of opening the first new classroom building on the RELLIS campus, a new concept in constructing an all-inclusive campus designed to efficiently and effectively serve all those seeking higher educational opportunities in the 21st century. It seems like only a couple of months ago, Chancellor Sharp and his team from Texas A&M University announced plans for a revolutionary new model for higher education and asked Blinn to be a partner. In truth, it has only been a few months, and since then things have been moving at warp speed. Buildings and programs have been under construction every day since the announcement. Blinn and Texas A&M System universities will create seamless course study for students on track for associate, bachelor, and master's degrees. The melting together of initial offerings from Blinn College that will fit perfectly with the various universities of the A&M system locating on the RELLIS campus will prove to save time and money for students seeking those degrees. While the campus will include private industry research and development, government research, and workforce training, a primary focus for Blinn will be to also work in lockstep with Texas A&M system in providing workforce training for the benefit of the entire Brazos Valley. Blinn College leaped directly into the deep water when given the opportunity to join forces with these outstanding universities. During the past year, work here is quickly changing this 2,000-acre site that was once a World War II era Air Force training facility into a multifaceted campus offering educational opportunities with the finest of facilities. For the Blinn College Board of Trustees and the members of the Blinn delegation here today, it is with special treat to dedicate this building in honor of Walter C. Onion Schwartz. Walter was a veteran of a half a century of service to Blinn as a teacher, coach, dean, vice president, president, and chancellor. He also served as our state representative and city councilman and mayor of our city. I might add that Walter was in the leadership of Blinn that looked wisely into the opportunity to provide services to Brazos County nearly 50 years ago. I can best sum it up by saying Walter, next to his wife Annie Mel and his children that you've met here today, Kay, Alan, Ann, and Schwartz, Ann and Charles, cherished Blinn College and our community more than anything, and he dedicated his life to serving and improving them both. Let me first qualify my previous statement. There are a few other things that Onion cared about desperately. He liked cold beer, politics, barbecue, bourbon and coke, playing cards and dominoes at the VFW, and baseball, and in no particular order. I did mention cold beer, did I not? because I think we'd be having some pretty soon if that was the case. For those of us who live in Brenham, we have had the pleasure of enjoying the fruits of Onion's labor in building a half-century strong foundation at Blinn. He served the city for almost as many years. It is because of this unwavering service to the college that we believe putting his name on this first building at the RELLIS campus is most appropriate, and the Board of Trustees took such action with great pride and enthusiasm. Again, in closing, we express our appreciation to Chancellor Sharp, Regents Chair Schwartz, Vice Chancellor Billy Hamilton, and members of the Board of Regents of Texas A&M, and all those who have worked closely with Blinn in this project. Blinn anticipates its partnership role will be ever evolving and growing at the RELLIS campus. And it all started with the Walter Schwartz classroom building. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Mosier. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the man whose vision for the RELLIS campus and higher education has led us here today. As Chancellor of the Texas A&M University System, John Sharp leads one of the nation's largest university systems, including 11 universities and 7 state agencies, and has spent more than 3 decades in public service. He earned his bachelor's degree in political science from Texas A&M University, where he was student body president and member of the Corps and part of the staff of the Corps of Cadets. Upon graduation, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army Reserves. In 1976, while working full-time with the Legislative Budget Board in Austin, Chancellor Sharp earned a master's degree in public administration from Southwest Texas State University. In 1978, he was elected to the Texas House of Representatives and was named Outstanding Freshman by Texas Monthly. Chancellor Sharp won a seat in the Texas Senate in 1982, where he served on the very powerful Senate Finance Committee, and he was elected to the Texas Railroad Commission in 1986. He was elected state comptroller in 1990 and re-elected in 1994. And last year, Governor Greg Abbott appointed Chancellor Sharp to lead Texas rebuilding efforts in the wake of Hurricane Harvey. Audience, please join me in welcoming the phenomenal and my good friend, Texas A&M University Chancellor John Sharp.
Howdy. And thank you, Mary, for that extensive introduction, although you missed the fact I was head of homeroom in 3rd grade. But you know, when Mary started talking about this water deal, I turned to Schwartz and I said, no, these people from Washington County, I don't think they've ever tasted water. There's got to be a 16-gallon back there somewhere. It is good to be here, especially with all our friends in Brenham, and the entire leadership of the board, the leadership of the Texas A&M board, Lois Colcourse, who is fast becoming one of the absolute most powerful, influential senators, these great state representatives. Frankly, I'm a little bit humbled even to be in the room with some of the folks that are in this room, and all of you. I feel a little bit like Elizabeth Taylor's 7th husband on a honeymoon. I mean, I know what to do, I just don't know if I can make it interesting for you. But I want to talk a little bit about Walter Schwartz, because if you had to name one person that had he not lived, we would not be here today, it's Walter Schwartz. His whole idea, you talk about vision of Blinn and the relationship with Texas A&M. I mean, imagine all the thousands and thousands of young men and women that are successful engineers and successful Texans now because of Walter Schwartz's idea to merge those together. And what we have here is Walter Schwartz's vision on steroids. And I suspect and I hope that he's looking down and saying, boy, this is really special. And I first met him, I remember, in the 70s with Sonny Schulte. Sonny Schulte took me over to meet him. I was helping with a fundraiser for the old Bull of the Brazos, Bill Moore. And you were right. The meeting didn't last very long. I mean, it was a kind of a got your point, okay, get the hell out. But to watch him even in that enterprise was absolutely amazing. What you have here is another group of thousands and thousands of young folks. 1,469 students to start with. Hell, the University of Texas only had 212 students when they started. We had about the same. It's absolutely amazing. Plus the second part of that, which is the kids that have graduated from Blinn that are now going to either go to Texas A&M Commerce, or they're going to go to Texas A&M Central Texas here, or Tarleton State University, or Corpus Christi. There's already 269 something of them, and they're still enrolling in that program, about 2 to 3 times more than what we started with. And so that vision that he had is going to be absolutely amazing. I have some people, in addition to the folks, especially in addition to people like Kathy Banks and Billy and others, but Lois Colcourse was kind of my informal go-between. If I told you everything Lois Colcourse did to make this happen, I'd have to kill you. She did a great job. Hunter Goodwin helped me as well. Kelly Templin, I don't know if Kelly is here, but Kelly is the new head of this outfit over here. But most of all, Walter's boy, Charles. Charles was absolutely dedicated to this from the beginning. Whenever there was anything that we needed to talk about and get going, Charles was right there. Mary was just wonderful to work with throughout this whole process, and we are so happy to have Blinn College increase its presence here with this particular deal. But Walter Schwartz, I know that tears came to his and his family's eyes when you told them that they were going to name this after his father. But Walter, I can't tell you, in the board and every place else, what a driver he was to make this happen. And to the members of the family who are offended that I am doting on Walter, I want you to know that if you were my board chairman, I'd be doting on you too. But this is, we tell you a little bit about, just a few minutes about what this is going to be. This is going to be one of the primary research places in the country. Whether it is Kubota Tractor, whether it is NASA, whether it is the military, whether it's 3M, and all the companies that are thinking about coming here and having research facilities on this campus. Whether it's Army's Futures Command, there is a list 40 different people long. That's part of it, but what it's really part of is including a lot of young men and women in the A&M system that unfortunately would have been excluded without this partnership with Blinn. Because what's going to happen is these young men and women at Blinn, some of which may not be able to get into Texas A&M or the University of Texas or one of those schools, are going to be able to stay right here on the buildings that we're going to construct around here, and they're going to get their degrees from Texas A&M Corpus Christi or Texas A&M Commerce or Texas A&M or Tarleton State University or one of our other schools. And while they may not have this particular ring, they're sure, by George, going to be indoctrinated well into the family. The first thing we did is make sure that all of those students got tickets to all Texas A&M sporting events to make sure that by the time they left here, if their blood wasn't maroon, it's darn sure close to pink. And so this is going to be something that doesn't exist anywhere in the country. I thank all of the people that had such a great role in doing it, and particularly the people of Washington County that saw this vision, bought into it, and said, by God, we're going to do something that has never been done before in the United States of America. And the success that Mary has already enjoyed and that you have already enjoyed in this is just wonderful. And so as we join together in smiling at this opening deal along with Walter, congratulations to all of you, and gig 'em.
Thank you, Chancellor Sharp. And at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Charles W. Schwartz, Chairman of the Texas A&M University System Board of Regents and the son of Walter C. Schwartz. Regent Schwartz is the former managing partner of the Houston firm of Skadden Arps, Slate, Mager, and Flom, LLP. He is a nationally recognized securities litigator and mergers and acquisitions expert, and he is a fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers and a life member of the American Law Institute. Regent Schwartz served as chairman of the board for the State Bar of Texas from 2002 to 2003, and he was a director of the State Bar from 2002 to 2004. He is a Life Benefactor Fellow of the American Bar Foundation and a Sustaining Life Fellow of the Texas Bar Foundation and the Houston Bar Foundation. He received the Price Memorial Award from the Texas Bar Foundation in 2004, and he was inducted, most importantly and best of all, into the Blinn College Hall of Honor in 2013. That same year, Regent Schwartz was appointed to the Texas A&M System Board of Regents by Governor Rick Perry. Please join me in welcoming the chair of the Texas A&M System Board of Regents and a member of the Blinn College class of 1973, Mr. Charles W. Schwartz, to speak on behalf of the Schwartz family.
Thank you, Dr. Hensley. It is a profound honor to represent the Schwartz family at the dedication of the Walter C. Schwartz Building on RELLIS campus of Texas A&M University. My father was destined to be a small-town laborer before education changed his life. Before World War II, he and a friend decided to leave Brenham to work at the Boeing plant in Seattle. They turned around about 2 days into their trip because they were homesick. After Pearl Harbor, he joined the Army, and either through providence or design, the Army discovered his aptitude for mathematics. He studied cryptography at Caltech and was assigned to the Signal Corps. He served in the Army of the Pacific, decoding and transmitting some of the most important messages of the war. After his discharge, he returned to Texas, and he heard that the University of Texas was giving out degrees to returning veterans. As it happened, my father was grossly misinformed. The faculty of the University of Texas was not cutting returning veterans any slack. Almost all of his buddies flunked out of UT. And I don't know if he got an education of the first class as our Constitution commands, but I know that that education transformed him. Apparently, while he was at the University of Texas, he wrote a letter in one of his classes that was so bad that he got a double F. He asked his professor, "What is a double F?" The professor said, "Well, if you don't turn in your work, that's an F, but yours was so bad, you get 2 Fs. Thereafter, he got a friend to write his letters so he could get through the course. Many years later, to his utter disbelief, his professor was invited to Blinn to address a student organization. My father never said anything, and he asked me to write a letter thanking the professor for coming to Blinn and giving a speech. He read the letter, and then at the bottom of the speech, he added, "P.S. I didn't write this letter either." Since he was one of the few to actually graduate from university, he started teaching night classes at Blinn to returning veterans. I understand that he was not a great teacher, but he was always very popular. He had an easygoing, non-judgmental manner, and people liked him. More important, he liked people. I think it's fair to say that Schwartz believed in responsibility, but he was not much for discipline's sake, and that says a lot about the way he raised us. In his early years at Blinn, Blinn was a very small college. The faculty was very small. Almost all the people who taught with him at Blinn remained at Blinn throughout their career. My father made true friends among those faculty members. There was a stability at Blinn and in the country in those times that just does not exist today. My father thrived in that environment. My father worked at Blinn for 47 years. He never had a written contract. He was told that he had a lifetime contract, and as a lawyer, I told him the statute of frauds prohibits a lifetime oral contract. On the day he died, he proved me wrong again. After a few years at Blinn, a seat in the Texas House of Representatives opened up, and he ran for the House from Washington and Austin counties. He served 2 terms in the House when economic reasons forced him to return to Blinn and teaching. While he was in the House, he had a roommate. The roommate's name was Bob Bullock. Bob Bullock became a lifetime friend. Years later, when my father got into trouble with the coordinating board because he had established an unauthorized nursing school at Blinn, he walked into the floor of the Texas Senate. Lieutenant Governor Bullock adjourned the Senate and asked my father, "God damn it, Onion, what have you done now?" I apologize for the profanity, but those of you who knew Bob Bullock know that the story wouldn't ring true without him. But Bullock fixed the problem, and the coordinating board in Blinn went forward, and today Blinn has a great nursing school even today. So it might be an appropriate time in these remarks to mention how my father became widely known as Onion. When he was very young, his elementary school had a vegetable play. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what's a vegetable play? Well, I don't really know either, but apparently it was pretty popular during the Depression. So my father was assigned the role of Onion, and he botched his lines. You really have to wonder what the lines are for Onion, but he messed them up just the same. His classmates ribbed him unmercifully, and the name stuck for a lifetime. Over the years, Blinn's enrollment grew and my father's responsibilities increased. Even though Blinn was growing, the same core faculty and administration from my father's first days were still in place. This group had a fundamental agreement about their mission. They were not going to let Blinn become one more open admissions community college. They hired the best faculty, provided the best possible facilities, and never changed the curriculum. When my father started at Blinn, a Blinn degree required 2 years of English, 2 years of mathematics, and 2 years of history and government. That was still true on the day he died. I know dozens of doctors, lawyers, accountants, and other professionals who graduated from Blinn, 3 in my family alone. And I've never heard a Blinn graduate say that he or she was disadvantaged by attending Blinn. I've told this story before, and it's an appropriate occasion to retell it. Many years ago, my father drove me to a shopping center in College Station, and we came to an abandoned shoe store. "What do you think?" he asked. I said, "Well, it looks like a closed-down shoe store to me." So this was in my not-so-subtle years, so I hope to outgrow them. But no, he said, "This is not what you think it is. This is where Blinn is going to hold classes. This will be a great thing." And I think I said something to the effect that you're going to need a better shoe selection if you're going to make a go of it this time. Now, the really interesting thing about that is that Blinn did not have any plan, any wink, or any nod from Texas A&M University when it started to offer classes in Brazos County. I'm fairly sure that Schwartz did not know what an articulation agreement is. Schwartz had a naive confidence that Blinn could come to Brazos County and start classes, and Blinn would succeed, and sooner or later Blinn would complement Texas A&M University. Our father has been called a visionary 1,000 times, and none of his visions surpassed his vision for Blinn College and Texas A&M University. I dare say this relationship has surpassed even his prescience. I know Onion would be proud beyond measure. Blinn College was his life, from night school instructor to chancellor, and he loved every minute of it. Wearing my other hat, I have publicly said that the RELLIS initiative is the most innovative program in higher education in this country. Here at RELLIS, the Texas A&M University system will be providing educational opportunity for students who may not be able to immediately attend Texas A&M University. Blinn will be providing under-division classes, and many universities in our system will be providing degree programs in various disciplines. Many of those who start here at RELLIS will graduate from Texas A&M University. I understand that Blinn has almost 1,500 students in their inaugural semester starting very soon. And let me contrast that with the fact that the anticipation was maybe 500 if we're lucky. We lost Onion in 2003. Few people affect lives for the better during their lifetime. Fewer people, even more, affect lives better after they have passed. As the years pass, it's become clear that Schwartz was an authentic genius, and we were fortunate to know him. On behalf of the Schwartz family, we are deeply humbled and gratified that the Blinn Board of Trustees has chosen to honor our father by naming this wonderful building the Walter C. Schwartz Building. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Schwartz. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Ruth R. Hughes, Texas Workforce Commission Chair and Commissioner representing employers, appointed by Governor Greg Abbott as a commissioner in 2015, and as chair of the commission in July of 2018. Chair Hughes serves as an advocate for almost 500,000 Texas employers. She is devoted to supporting the economic development and education that the Texas economy demands. And since her appointment, she has been actively engaged in workforce development across the state of Texas. Please join me in welcoming Workforce Commission Chair Ruth R. Hughes.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. This is such an incredible event. Howdy. And it's so special. I'm feeling extra warm, as I know some of you may be, but also very comfortable thanks to our gracious host. So I want to take a moment to thank all of the students that welcomed us with cold water and fan programs as we entered. You truly are our future leaders, and thank you for that. I also want to congratulate the Schwartz family. It's so nice to know Ben is actually part of our workforce team. So it's very exciting to get to be here today, and I appreciate the opportunity to recognize the board and everyone else here at the Workforce Commission. We appreciate the partnerships that we have with all of you, and it's an honor to be on this stage with these esteemed guests and dignitaries. I want to thank Chancellor Sharp, Chancellor Hensley, of course, all of our legislators. But in the interest of time, I really want to be as brief as possible and just tell you what an honor it is to be here in this place with so much history and a place that is going to continue to create legacies throughout the years. As the chair of the Workforce Commission and the commissioner representing employers, I really commend your efforts on this project and applaud your partnerships. These partnerships that bring us here together today are exactly the types of partnerships that make Texas stand out among the rest of the country.